Welcome to Monarchist Minute. I'm your host, William Stout, here with Toby Cosner and Leon J. Krevsky. And this week on Monarchist Minute, we're talking all about princesses because we were very, very bad royalists a couple weeks ago when we had our queen episode, and we managed to forget about all the future queens that are going to be coming up in Europe within our lifetimes. Um, well, some of them are queen protectors, is it? Or we could talk about titles while we're going through them. But yes, we're talking all about princesses and the more influential ones, the ones in lines with succession, modern ones, past ones. What are they doing and what will they do? And with that being established, I want to welcome my guest speakers, Leon and Toby. How are you, gentlemen?
Doing well. Hey, Will, I heard that you were in the screwing guild.
Oh, where did you hear this story?
I
Oh,
was going watching old episodes of Monarchist Minute when I heard someone make that joke, and I laughed so hard. I wrote it down right then and there at work and have committed it to memory this entire week.
okay. It's funny that that was still in there because Charles York swore by the fact that he had to go in and remove it because he. Okay, so way back in the day, Charles York was a very, very scrupulous man. He's relaxed a lot more now. But he felt so bad for that joke because he thought it was so, what's the word I'm looking for? Risque.
Oh, that's why I laughed.
Yeah. But yeah, we were talking. I think I remember that episode because he was more of a distributist and I was more of a socialist. So we were arguing about the difference between guilds and unions. And so I was telling about
That
my job.
was the one after it where you talked about the joke.
Yeah. And so when he was making his case for guilds, he said, okay, so since you work in assembly and you shoot screws all day, you would be in the screwing guild. And that's what he said, now thinking about how the screwing guild actually sounded. And of course, me being, I think I was maybe 21, 22 at the time, I took it and ran with it. Because of course I was. I mean, how do you not? Anywho, how are you, Leon?
I'm doing all right. It's a great evening.
Great. How are things up in your neck of the woods just north of me?
Humid, hot.
Same. Honestly, I hate it. I really
I
do.
I hate this weather so much, and it's just not gonna get any better for the next few weeks.
It's
This
supposed to
is
start cooling off down here in Ohio. We're supposed to be down to 79 by next weekend, thankfully.
Lucky
it's supposed,
bastard.
it's supposed to rise back into like the 80s or even the 90s next week for me.
Hey,
Oh, I do not envy you.
at least you guys don't have to drive home from work night during torrential downpour. Hooey.
Is it rainy in Missouri? I thought it got drier the further west we
We
go.
last night it was coming down so freaking hard. Like I had my wipers at full blast, and it felt, and even then, it was kind of struggling to see. I had to wear a trash bag poncho leaving work.
How
Oh,
close to the Mississippi do you live?
Not very close. I'm in Casey area, so I live close.
Oh, okay. Okay, complete other side.
Yeah,
yeah. Days like that, that's when you just pop your hazards on, pull over to the side of the road, and wait for it to stop. There's no winning at that point.
I won.
I will say really quick, Will, you keep making this mistake, bro. It's called Lefski, not Krautsky.
I'm sorry. I'm very Anglo-Scots. Slavic pronunciation does not work with me, okay? So it's what again?
Kolevsky.
Krolevsky.
Kolevsky.
Krolevsky.
Yes, there we go. That's better.
Okay, think my problem is I keep trying to pronounce it as one word instead of 3 syllables breaking it out.
Yeah, that's a one. That's like a thing with at least some Slavic names. You have to like break it down by syllable almost.
Krolevsky. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, I should remember that because I went to the school with a girl whose name was Blashinsky, and dear God,
Oh no, the Polish names are so like just brutal.
yeah, it's like she had a hyphenated last name, so she used one of her parents' names over the other one. Her other name was Hall, and so she preferred to be called Hall, but we would always give her crap about Blashinsky.
It happens to every Pole, I swear.
I mean,
Okay,
could be worse. It could be a French last name where half the letters aren't even pronounced.
fair enough. At least it looks cool then.
Hmm.
It looks fancy. Speaking of French, um, yeah, no, I have no transition out from that.
But what were you gonna say about French?
I was trying to think of a way to transition into like our discussion, but I couldn't because there was no
Well,
French monarchy anymore.
unfortunately, although there is a person on our list of princesses who is descended from perhaps the most important Frenchman in American history.
And she also speaks
Princess
French.
what?
She also speaks French.
Well, she's Belgian, so she's like half French, half Dutch, whatever.
Not more French than anything. At least the royals. But yeah,
Princess Elizabeth, Duchess of Brabant, which will be the first queen of Belgium, is a direct descendant of the Marquis de Lafayette. Now, right now, she's dealing with a few admission issues at Harvard due to all the issues going on with immigration in the US and policy, and it's making foreign admissions in the process difficult for her to attend school in the US, which frankly I think is a little absurd and disappointing on the part of our country because I'm of the opinion that
Those
anyone who's a,
Lafayette family.
yeah, anyone who's of a descendant of the Marquis de Lafayette, George Washington's godchild, basically, his second adopted son, deserves honorary American citizenship. That's 110% my opinion. His entire bloodline should be considered honorary American.
I mean at that point, just make them regular citizens.
Right. That's what I'm saying. They should like there really should be a thing where foreigners or people who move back to their home countries after the revolution or after serving America for such and such reasons should get honorary citizenship. And if anyone gets that, Lafayette and his family should get it.
Honestly, I could see a Lafayette dynasty for America.
I'd be down for it. Does
I'm
that mean
not
we'd
against
poach
it.
does that mean we'd poach a royal from the Belgian royal family, or
I mean the Lafayettes are still their own family, I believe.
I don't know. I just saw the uh family tree that Zayana gave us. I'm gonna be real. I'm not a very good monarchist when it comes to like all the genealogical aspects. I don't really follow that.
I mean, you don't have to
Yeah,
follow every single one of
All
it. Because after
um,
a point, they're all just gonna be interconnected, and at that point, it's like there's no point.
I'll be entirely honest. Since I prefer an American for an American monarchy, I tend to just ignore all the European genealogies completely.
That
I
too.
mean, I get that. It's like genealogy just seems like such a hassle in my opinion. It's like after a while, after you go back 3 or 4 generations, it just why? It seems so irrelevant at that point. I mean,
I
it's
agree.
fun, but it's a hassle.
It's too much. It's just too much stuff.
Yeah, it's too much stuff to keep track of. But then again, that might just be us Americans in our young country with our young blood speaking. Because we have no history, you know.
I'm not gonna. I don't feel like getting into this whole debate. Quite frankly, I'm so worn out about it.
I know, it's a stupid of debate. I'm not a huge fan of it either, but
Anyways, back to
so which princess we've talked about Princess Elizabeth. Does anyone else have any comments about her, or which princess do we want to move on to next? Because we have a panel of 5, and I know you, Toby, you want to talk about Anne Komnene. Dear
Anna.
God,
Anna
Come
Komnenos.
Since she was a woman, her name would be Anna Komnena.
I'm no offense. I'm not gonna pronounce. I'm not gonna use the medieval Greek, Tom. I won't do that for the Greeks because
dear,
the Greek names are so bizarre when they try to like, genify them.
It's
I just
that
can't
hard.
think of how to pronounce it. You have an M and an N back to back, and that just makes my tongue curl up and down.
Okay, so the name of the well, who Toby's referring to the House of Komnenos. Okay,
Hey, don't poach
Komnenos.
this from me.
What?
Don't poach this from me.
Okay, I'm just trying to explain the pronunciation. Go on.
Okay. All right. For our viewers, the House of Komnenos would be established by Alexios Komnenos when he took the throne during was effectively a coup by his wife. Um, but he would be the Roman emperor during the start of the First Crusade. Will not start during the First Crusade. Um, Now, his daughter Anna Komnena would be effectively the best Greek historian up until the modern day. And let's be honest, who knows modern Greek historians if any exist?
I mean, Greece today, in my opinion, doesn't exist, but that's a different conversation.
Greece, today is just a nation with a superiority complex because it used to be something.
Greece today is the most like it is the greatest like LOP achievement in like modern history. You can't anyone can argue this with me, but modern Greece is like the biggest LOP ever.
It's like Arabs in modern day Egypt claiming to be the descendants of pharaohs. It's like they are so far separated from ancient Egypt. It's like, why are you even trying?
I would say it's worse than the Arabs and trying to claim like ancient Egyptian pharaohs
I have
as those. That's my opinion.
the Greeks. They were populated in the area continuously since before the Roman Empire. They speak the natural language that has evolved through that area, and they continue to practice the faith that they have practiced since Greece was Christianized. So I don't think I can get behind your arguments on that. I'm sorry.
Because the Greeks, I know we're going completely off like the crown princess of Belgium, but the Greeks today, the whole modern Greek national identity began in like the early 19th century, late 18th century, and by like Western academics. These weren't even mind you, these were not the Greeks themselves. These are a bunch of like Greek fraternities essentially in Western Europe in the during the Enlightenment who saw the people who would they later be called the Greeks, the Romans in the Hellas area, and they said, you know what, they can't, they made the claim, oh, these aren't real Romans. It doesn't matter what these Romans call themselves. The Greeks cosplaying as Romans. So we're gonna have to go all the way back to the days of Sparta and the siege of Troy and all that to like the ancient Greeks when they were like Greek. And then we're gonna import that whole identity. We're gonna skip over the whole Roman and medieval Byzantine era, and we're just gonna pop them into
Or
like
even the
today's
Ottoman
existence.
era for that matter.
What? Well,
Or
yeah.
even the
I mean,
Ottoman era. And
I
you
mean,
know, this is where we
even during the Ottoman era, the Romans, or the Greeks, still saw themselves as Roman, and the
right.
Ottomans completely like accepted it.
And
Okay, you guys want to be
even
called
the
Romans?
Ottomans
You're
consider
Romans.
themselves Roman, so
Well,
and you know, this
not
is
really, not exactly.
well, they consider themselves successors to Rome. It's a whole thing.
Yeah, I understand that, but that was Mehmed II taking the Kaiser Erum title. I mean that was it. I mean, if you look at his successors, they didn't really like abolish the title, but they really just didn't. They kicked it down like the title list.
I get what you're saying, and I agree with what you're saying, and I think that's like half of the issues of why there's this weird ethnic argument between like Turks and modern Greeks about who came up with what, and that's because the modern Turkish identity and the modern Greek identity are both these sort of academic identities that were invented inorganically by people trying to push a nationalist narrative.
Gents.
Whereas when the Ottoman Empire collapsed and when these nations came into being, these two peoples were basically living amongst each other right next door for like hundreds of years. And it's like,
Fellas.
I guess what I say is there's this collective Aegean culture that is basically just split apart on national and linguistic lines.
Okay, so why don't we make that next topic and we get back to Anna.
Yeah.
Anyways, Anna Komnena, greatest Greek historian. She was, for those who don't know, the eldest daughter of Alexios Komnenos. While she was growing up, she had access to the Imperial Library, so already we had a very good start. But she would actually go way out of her way just to read Plato and Aristotle. And keep in mind, they're in medieval times, so people don't have the highest view of women getting an education. So she did that mostly private. And you got to keep in mind, Plato and Aristotle are pagans, and this is in the later Christian Roman Empire. So she goes way out of her way to learn these things, and she becomes very well acquainted with literature. And this will become more relevant when she starts writing down her history. Another interesting thing is she was actually very medically gifted. In an attempt to get her to calm down with sneaking out and reading taboo pagan books, Alexius Komnenos built her own hospital where she became quite the physician. And she was also a polymath.
Mm.
Anyways,
I remember watching a video about her and her accounts of the Crusades, which I wonder if we can still find a copy of them somewhere, like a modernized edition of them.
the Alexiad.
Oh, wait, we can?
Yeah, that's how we know about her is through the survival of the Alexiad.
Well, I knew I knew about her writings. It was just like I didn't know if we could go out and maybe buy them somewhere.
I'm sure you can probably find a translation of it somewhere.
Oh,
Yeah,
sweet.
I'm pretty sure my university has a. If not my university, then like our partner university has a copy in the library.
Neat. Anyways, also a fun little thing about her, she because she was the eldest, not only the eldest daughter of Alexius Komnenos, but she was the eldest child of Alexius Komnenos. So she was supposed to be first in line to inherit, but I'm guessing you boys both know where this is going.
I know where it's going, but I would make the small caveat to your statement is that it the thing with the Romans, whether from like Augustus all the way to Constantine the 11th, was that primogeniture was not a concept. It was like a battle royale every time like an emperor died.
Yeah, kind of.
That if there was any flaw in the Roman system is that they never actually established a proper legal precedent for declaring who's the next emperor.
Except for the emperor declaring who's the next emperor.
Exactly.
But anyways, that actually gets into this. So you know where this is going. She has a brother named John who gets born, and Alexius Komnenos declares him to be the heir. Naturally, Anna gets kind of miffed by this because she just had the throne basically stolen from her. Well, not stolen, it's not hers to take. But anyways, this leads to a kind of fun little story. She hates John so much, she actually ends up trying to overthrow her own little brother. And she gets exiled to a convent because of it. as one does in the medieval Roman Empire. And that's actually where she composed the Alexiad, I think. But she witnessed the First Crusade, and basically, she is the historian who gave us the historical account of her father, although naturally, it's actually pretty biased towards him. So take it with a grain of salt, but all in all, I think Anna Komnena is pretty cool.
I remember watching a video about her, and they went over her accounts of the Crusades, and it was one of, I think, some of the funniest things I've ever heard. If we put it into like a historical context, like if we were writing a comedy about the First Crusades, I feel like this is how it would go. You would have all the Western Europeans, the French, the people from the Holy Roman Empire, the people from Britain and such, coming in. It's like, we are here to help our Christian brothers. We too are the inheritors of Rome. And then you just have Anna writing down in a book, mumbling to herself, it's like, dear God, get these Germanic heathens out of my house.
She talked mad shit.
Mad shit.
And
Which also just makes you wonder, how annoying were the Crusaders actually to elicit such a reaction from the Byzantines?
Well,
Do you think it was justified, or do you think it was just the Byzantines being
you gotta
like,
keep in mind
when superiority?
You gotta keep in mind when the Crusaders entered the Byzantine Empire, they were the Byzantines were prepared to usher them over to the other side of the Hellespont. But instead, while the Byzantines, or sorry, not the Byzantines, the Crusaders, when they were coming through, they decided, yeah, I know you're going to give us passage, but it'd be more fun to sack your towns and take your gold, so that's what we're going to do for a little bit. So they were sacking towns, and they even sacked towns in the Holy Roman Empire, too. So, yeah, these guys weren't exactly the most pious of.
And I feel like, and I know a lot of people glorify the Crusades, which I don't think we should do. I feel like we as Christians should be honest about the Crusades. And I feel like one of the things we need to be honest about the Crusades is these were not noblemen. Most of the knights that went to go fight in the Crusades were like second or third sons that didn't stand to inherit anything. And that's the entire reason they went to go fight in the Crusades, because they saw it as the only way to actually get anything or earn anything.
Well, I'll say this. Just for a quick little side tangent. I think the Crusades were justified and necessary. They are poorly planned and poorly executed, definitely. But I
do agree. I'm just saying we did not send our best.
Well, you have to remember too. I mean, you can't group all the Crusades together because you're talking about like 20 different wars or something. If you want to talk about just the first Crusade, then yeah, I mean, you're totally right that these were the brothers and second sons of all like the kings of Western Europe. But I mean, if you look at like the second Crusade, it was led by like the King of France, the Holy Roman Emperor, and then you could look to the Third Crusade, and you got like Holy Roman Emperor, King of England, King of France, Duke of Austria. I mean, it becomes more progressively more like actual like Western leaders.
And the funny part is it got progressively less successful as a result.
Oof.
That is true.
Maybe the real lesson in the Crusades is that the bastards are the ones that actually get things done.
I would also two more things to add. I think two more things to add is that oh, I just had a brain fart. Crap. What was I gonna say? Oh yeah. I would say two things you have to remember, at least with the First Crusade, is that one, Alexios Komnenos had been at war for at least a decade with the Normans of southern Italy, including like Bohemond of Taranto, who later takes over Antioch. I mean, these two have been in conflict with personally with each other. And the fact that he was there with the other like Crusader princes, it was like, hey, wait a minute, this guy, this guy's very suspicious to me. Why is he with you? And you also have to remember that like when Alexios gave out the call, or at least he requested aid from Pope Urban, they had two completely different opinions. Alexios wanted essentially like a highly skilled mercenary force to help him retake Western Anatolia. Well, Pope Urban basically said, "Screw it, we're gonna, balls to the wall. We're gonna retake the entire Middle East."
I mean, that from a normal standpoint, that seems like a good bargain, but given what actually happened, I can understand why that didn't pan out. I mean, yeah, the Crusaders basically just ignored their entire purpose, and instead of helping out in Anatolia, they completely abandoned their mission just to go straight to the Holy Land and just, as you said, balls to the wall. Which, like you said, I feel the reason the Crusades ended up not working is because there was no actual strategic planning involved. It was basically just, for lack of a better term, it was a horde. It was a Christian horde. It was
I
our Genghis Khan moment, basically.
I'll grant the First Crusade this. They actually did kick the Seljuk Sultan's ass. They even captured his family at one point.
Right, I'm just saying, they didn't actually really do. They didn't achieve anything that was strategically sustainable. Like, yeah, Antioch was a good idea. Western Anatolia was a good idea. But once we got toward Jerusalem, no, that was risky. If it
I
were
can
up, if it were
I'll
up,
agree with you that like they lacked a grand strategy on how to defend the Levant. But the thing with like them being in the Levant, and if we were to look at this from like the Roman view, and for those listeners who haven't caught on already, yes, we are calling the Byzantines Roman entirely. No
they are
asterisk,
Roman.
no other like footnote. They are fully Roman. But with the Crusaders in the Levant, the Islamic powers were so focused on trying to retake Jerusalem, and there's essentially this giant like a thorn in the buttocks. Well, the Romans were able to retake and much of Anatolia under Alexios and under John.
Right, that does make sense. But if I were planning the Crusades, if I had complete and total strategic control of the Crusades, my target would not be Jerusalem. It would have been Baghdad. I would have said, gun it for Baghdad, cut the head of the snake, and basically then why the Islamic world is then fighting over who basically succeeds the Seljuks in their Abbasid Caliphate, then we can actually go to work.
So I think the one I can only provide like counterfactuals and like some like historical context. But Baghdad is pretty close to what was the Persian capital of Ctesiphon, and the Romans and the Persians were at war for like centuries, and even though the Romans like on a dozen occasions were able to like take Ctesiphon and burn it to the ground, they were never able to like hold Mesopotamia. So how would the Western European Crusaders with no supply lines whatsoever, be able to take Baghdad and
Well,
not
yeah,
get
I'm not
slaughtered in the
talking about
process?
taking and holding it. I'm just saying we should have went for it to cause enough damage to the Islamic world, since that would have been the centralized point, the hub of it. I'm not looking for us to take and hold Mesopotamia. I'm just looking for like a surgical strike, a strategic blow, if you will.
Again, I'm just thinking like supply lines here. I mean, look at like Mark Antony. Look at the Emperor Julian the Apostate. I mean, they went in, and the supply lines were so like weak or spread out or vulnerable. They got taken out, and then what happened to the invading foes? They got either slaughtered or starved into retreat.
I would say that the logistics would probably be somewhat easier because you could just send whatever supplies you need down the Tigris or the Euphrates, both of which have their roots in Anatolia. But I digress.
Anyways,
While we're on a tangent in a tangent, I want to go inside a tangent inside our other tangent.
I want to make one quick funny comment before we get back, because I feel like let's get back to our main topic. And I swear this one is related somehow. So remember how Toby had been talking about Anna and John's kind of rivalry for to succeed Alexios. You know what other like kind of like sibling couple I shouldn't say couple, but like pale siblings vying for the throne like this. Well, like who else in Roman history this reminds me of?
Oh.
The communist and his sister, Lucilia, I forget her name, but essentially the kids of Marcus Aurelius.
That is
Because
true. I love
just
how
like
the
Anna, Lucilia is attempting to like overthrow and murder communists, and she failed completely.
I love how the relationship got immortalized in the first Gladiator movie. I know it's not historically accurate, but I just love how it was depicted. But my tangent inside the tangent was we all know the story of Robin Hood, right?
Yeah.
And how English taxes were raised in order to help raise money to pay to get the king out of prison.
Yes, Richard the Lionheart.
Yeah, I was about to say, it took me so many years to realize that that was about Richard the Lionheart paying to get Richard the Lionheart back from Saladin. It took me so many years to
It was
realize that that wasn't just a
That wasn't
story.
Saladin. I don't think it was Saladin.
it was
I think
Philip
it was the Duke.
Augustus.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't Philippe of Augustus. I think it was the Duke of Austria.
Oh,
Well,
And I think
anyway,
Philippe Augustus was paying the Duke of Austria to keep Richard in prison.
doesn't that count though?
yeah.
I guess
But
kind of.
anyway, but yeah, it felt so amazing to me when I realized that that wasn't like something made up in the story. Like, no, that's something that actually happened in history at the time described that Robin Hood takes place. And it's it's one of those things that makes you wonder, like, was this just folk story or was this actually a real dude?
Okay, princesses.
That was my tangent.
So,
So what we want to talk about next?
Leon, didn't you?
I don't know. We still got 4 princesses. So which princess do we want to talk about next? We have Victoria of Sweden. We have Ingrid Alexandria of Norway. We have Katharina Amelia of.
Isn't Ingrid of Norway? Isn't she like a tank gunner in the Norwegian army?
According to her biographic,
We can also look it up.
yeah.
Quick.
So
We have technology.
yes,
That's his computer.
I'm reading the information Zaonic gave us. For those of you who don't know, those of us who are in our audience or listening to this, Zaonic American used to be one of our art heads, and he is our residential expert on all things having to do with princesses, whether it be IRL princesses, fictional princesses. It's kind of his special interest. I'll leave it at that.
So the Crown Princess of Norway is a tank gunner.
That is
Or was a tank gunner.
so great. Like, I love that so much. And she will be the first queen regent since the 15th
Regnet.
century.
Queen Regnet.
Regnet.
Yeah, regent is parent ruling in case of child. Monarch
Right.
regnant, I'm pretty sure is like
She rules in her own right.
yeah.
Right. I know. Those words are just so close together, I get them
They
mixed
are.
up. Yeah.
Yeah, no.
I didn't know she was a tank gunner. I mean, yeah, it says here in her biography that she had some military service. Oh, and she also studied at the University of Sydney for environmental science, so she'll be an environmentally conscious queen.
He's going there right now.
Yeah,
For real? It sounds like Norway is gonna have a pretty based queen one day.
and I like the fact that a lot of these princesses aren't doing stereotypical princess things. Like, a lot of these princesses have very solid military careers. Like, if we go up to Princess Leonor, who is more likely than not going to be Leonor, or however it's pronounced. I'm sorry for all of our Spanish members in the audience. I'm not. It looks like Leonor to me. I'm sorry.
I have no clue if I pronounced it right or not. I'm just going off what I think it is.
But yeah, Princess Leonor is like, let's look at her track record. She's 2/3 through her armed forces training. She's done naval training. She's done army training. She's getting ready to do Air Force training. She speaks 6 languages. Well, wait, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. No, 7 languages.
William, you just triggered my my side tangent for Lanor.
What?
When you said Air Force training, technically Spain doesn't have an Air Force. Did you know that?
No, I did not.
They have a Aero Space Force. So she'll technically be getting her Air and Space Force training.
Are you telling me we're gonna have our first astronaut royal?
No.
Oh,
You just shut that
That
down
is not,
immediately.
oh,
That's not what I'm saying.
disappointing.
not how Space Forces work, unfortunately.
No, I refuse to accept this. Get this girl to Cape Canaveral. We're putting her on the ISS just so she has bragging rights. Oh, and apparently she has a pretty interesting pedigree on her grandmother's side.
All the royals, dude. I'm sorry. We don't have to go through the pedigree of like every royal here.
I know,
Like
but
they're all interrelated. Let's
I
be
know,
honest.
but I just think it's interesting that she is the great great granddaughter of Victoria Lucia of Prussia, who is also a famously notable, very militant princess, one that was very, very involved in the German Empire's military and trained and drilled with
So that's because
the German military. But then again, of course, being Prussian noble, that was kind of expected. But
But not for the women.
yeah.
well, keep in mind King Frederick William. I think it's Frederick William. Anyways, the Frederick who was in charge during the Napoleonic era, it was his wife who was always bugging him to go to war. So it's
Oh yeah, Queen Louise.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I really think warrior princesses are an underrated, like warrior queens are an underrated thing, especially in like Western tradition.
Yeah.
I think it's only because like our pop culture really like ropes like our understanding of it.
Yeah. This is a message for people in some people in the UMP. Male primogenitor folks, take notes.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if you
That
want to
is
go
an
into
interesting part because Leonor could lose her status
Well, yes,
if
but
the king and queen have a male child, but at
I
this rate,
highly doubt that. Yeah.
yeah, I highly doubt it.
what I'm saying though is like one of the arguments I heard for male preference primogenitor early on this week. It was that women have to be educated to rule as effectively as a man could. And it's like, what? Everyone has to be taught to rule. And now we're talking about princesses who are going to who are been in their militaries, who are effectively certified badasses, like in their own right. So, can you
Yeah.
see what I'm saying?
Yeah, and this is the point where I bring up the statistic that women leaders were 3 times more likely to go to war than male leaders. So I really think this whole argument where we see in some of the more reactionary parts of the monarchist movement where only men can be kings or men can be monarchs because women aren't cut out to rule really needs to go in the dustbin of history because especially in European history there are tons and tons of famous empresses and queens that basically run circles around their male counterparts. Like, let's talk about Queen Elizabeth I humiliating the Spanish Empire. Or, what's the name of that famous Austrian Duchess? The one who basically became
Maria
Empress
Theresa.
HRE through her son.
Maria Theresa.
Maria,
Teresa.
thank you, I couldn't remember her name.
She did that through her husband and then her son. Stephen the First. Francis Stephen and then Joseph II.
Who basically ruled the entire HRE and then some through her own will. And of course, how can we forget the one, the only, Catherine the Great?
Yeah, no, Catherine, you have to be a certified badass to be called the Great, and to be a woman ruling in your own right to be called the Great. That speaks volumes. It does.
To and Catherine ruling what is probably the most conservative and reactionary regime out of all of the ones in Europe in her own right, and still being called the Great.
Yeah.
I would add the caveat there. I mean, Catherine the Second of Russia was very much a Westernizer in the vein of like Peter, and
Right.
then like all the other like Westernizing Russian imperials. What was I gonna say? I would say a more reactionary regime would be like in maybe Austria or Spain. I mean, we're talking like middle to late like 18th century, so it's like they're all pretty much in the Enlightenment. I mean,
Yeah.
if you really want to go conservative, I would say go look at the Ottomans. Oh, like I mean, arguably France, because like the monarchy had weakened itself, yet at the same time strengthened itself to be weak.
Right. But yeah, I'm just
Oh,
saying the potential for powerful female monarchs is there, and I think we're going to see that within our lifetime because we have all these wonderful candidates coming out of Europe. Well, not candidates, most of these are designated successors. They are in line. They are going to become
they are.
queen.
The
And
future of woman of I mean, the future of Europe is woman, is female.
it is honestly looking very, very promising.
Yes.
I feel like I like all the princesses more than any of the female politicians.
Okay.
Well,
Real quick.
I think this goes back to the topic I had a couple weeks ago about why female monarchs are always better remembered than female politicians, and that's because in order to climb that high as a woman in an elected political structure, only the worst women, only the most, for lack of a better term, only the bitches get that high because
What were you
they're
gonna
always
say, Toby?
nasty enough to climb that high.
Oh, I kind of want to talk about Poland real quickly.
Oh, go ahead.
King, and I did say King, Jadwiga, the most based woman monarch.
I've never heard of her.
You never heard
Please,
of King Jadwiga, the
no,
King
please
of Poland?
enlighten me.
Yeah, no.
Isn't
Her
she also a saint?
I don't know if she's a saint, but for those of you guys in the audience who don't know, apparently like Will here, King Jadwiga, the nobles hated her husband so much and did not want him to become king that they went behind his back and made sure to elect her as king. And they've made very specifically sure to use the title king and not queen.
Oh my god, that is great.
It is great. And now that also raises a question: does that mean he would be the male queen of Poland? Or then be, I guess.
I don't
No.
know, but I feel like the polls would end up coming up with some incredibly insulting Slavic derogatory title for him.
Okay,
I'm
so
sure they
she is a saint, and then like her husband, husband Cole monarch is actually of Rachislav II, the guy who essentially like it lays the foundation for the Polish-Lithuanian Union. That's it.
And
That's all from my end.
Yeah.
oh, why we're talking about female monarchs overthrowing their husbands or usurping their male competitors. That
It's in the
brings
great
us
again.
to Crown Princess Victoria of Sweden, who managed to jump her brother in succession when the Swedish government switched from male
Parliament.
preference to absolute primogeniture in 1979.
Very nice. Although I gotta imagine that's gotta suck for him. Because
Well, I don't know how the prince feels about it, but I know King Carl wasn't very happy about it because he thought it was unfair for his son. But I will say this, apparently Victoria is much better liked than her father is.
That's because King Carl has been like his playboy kind of background has kind of come up against him.
Mm.
And
Right.
I don't know. I just don't trust the Swedish establishment at all. If quite frank, the Swedish Parliament doesn't matter which political party controls it. It's absolutely cancerous because they just keep trying to like monopolize power. I mean, I know
Right.
we can argue this about all of them, but like if you see Swedish history in the past over the 20th century, it's the most aggressive one in my opinion.
Oh, and here's another fun fact. Crown Princess Victoria's eldest child is also a woman, Princess Estelle, meaning that Sweden will be I don't know if this will make them the first, but it's the first, at least in memory, the first European monarchy in memory to have two successive.
No, you're forgetting about the Dutch.
Oh, am I?
Yeah,
Oh, my bad. I apologize to the Dutch.
they actually had I think 3 of them
Dang.
back to back.
Interesting. But yeah, so future is female in Europe. And as I said, it be looking good. I
Can I go
don't
back
know.
real
Oh,
quickly? I'm back to when we were talking about these princesses all having served in the military. Can I just say that that's like a true inspiration? We should probably start working into our collective platform that the heir apparent should have military service under their belt when we get our.
I mean, I
I
don't know about you guys over at the UMPA, but I think over at, here at MOA, I think it's basically like agreed upon.
Yeah, it's not necessarily that we've stated it outright. More so, it's that it's implied because that's kind of like we see that in Europe all the time. We see that with most royals that some form of military or public service is implied for a royal that's like a crown prince or crown princess, a royal that's expected to take the throne.
Yeah, I could.
But yeah, that's just now one thing I would personally like to see royals learn more about, and I would like to see royals make a bigger career of, is I would want to see royals maybe take more education in, say, economics as well as military training. Like, I would like to see some royals actually, dare I say it, I would like to see some royals with some finance bro experience. I'm gonna say it. Like, especially in the 21st century, I feel like that would be a whole lot more helpful than, say, military experience. But not that the military experience
But
isn't good, but you get what I'm saying.
true, but I don't know how I feel about that because I'm worried that could just corrupt the next generation of monarchs into becoming politicians.
And then that's a
Okay,
fair counterpoint.
like how I mean, let's think about this. Just like pause and think more philosophically here. I mean, what's the end goal? Like, do we want like if we were just to look at the European royals, do we want them to be more politically active like again, or do we want to keep them as they are in most of them, which is essentially just like celebrities
I would like
I mean,
with state pomp and grandeur?
I
I
would
don't want
like
to see it.
them to be more politically active.
So if we want them to be more politically active, like I think I think it's fine then for them to study finances and stuff. I'm not necessarily saying they should go like full Wolf of Wall Street and like being so corrupt and
Oh,
decadent and
absolutely
stuff.
not.
But
Of
I
course
mean,
not.
let's have them educated then or something, because I don't even know what I'm trying to say here. I think the whole like financial system is just so destroyed because we don't have because we're all debtor nations now. We have no creditor nations like we had before the world wars. We're all in perpetual debt, and so in my opinion, and just in my very cynical view, I think finances for the state doesn't really matter. Or maybe this is my American um luxury coming out because it's like America owns like the global economic system. So if we crash, that we take the whole world down, screaming and kicking with us. So we essentially have a dead man's stretch.
Yeah.
Now,
Oh,
call me a psychopath, call me an evil mastermind, but I actually wish the US would do that just so we could have an entire global economic reset and basically fix this whole debtor system and everything wrong with the finance industry.
You do
Like,
know though
when
about
it
the rock.
comes to global economics, I'm up there with the whole burn it down, start over from scratch. I am 110% on that boat.
I'm not against it. It's just like you're asking so much out of that. It's one thing to say it, but then trying to like do it, you're gonna face so much opposition. You'll probably be disappeared before overnight before you even have a chance to try anything.
Or get ganged up on an angry mob of hungry people. Because you got to keep in mind, destruction of the economic system is going to destroy trade infrastructure for several years. And I heard there's this one. Well, he's retired now, but he was an army warrant officer. He had looked into it. America is at any given moment 2 weeks away from famine. If the trade networks were to shut down like that, we would be seeing mass starvation here.
Well, because we're a consumer country. Part of having capitalism and all like national identity and mythos is that we always have to keep buying and selling, and then you add this onto the fact that it's we when we like took over as like the de facto world like a economic bedrock with the Bretton Woods system and having the U.S. dollar be like the standard currency. I mean, we lost all incentive of trying to be competitive because we at the end of the day, we could cut off the funds to anyone else and crash them. But again, like I said, dead man's stretch. Anything happens to us, we're taking the whole world down with us. And then look at like we don't have autarky. And I'm gonna say this: Trump is not gonna give us that. It doesn't matter if he had like 4 years of absolute power or 20 more years. He won't do it because it's not he's not that kind of guy. He can make he can claim whatever. Or people can make claims for him, but he won't do it. Biden didn't do it. Obama didn't. Bush, Clinton, none of them gave a crap. And look at how much like photo land the U.S. has. We have so much photo land to grow food and sustain ourselves, but we won't do it because we have a lazy population, and then two, all of that photo land is in private hands, we have like billionaires, and then like these corporations just buying land. They won't use it. They just have that there for the pure, like for the value of the land itself, and they won't use it at all. They won't cultivate it.
Yeah, and I've thought about this before, and I've said this many a times, and I will keep saying this. It seems very, very stupid to me that 90% of the human consumed produce in America is grown in one of the most water poor places in the country when we have the one of the largest water basins on the planet in the Mississippi River Valley, and we use it to grow corn. About half of it isn't even used for food. It's used for industrial uses. Like, why are we not growing tomatoes and stuff out there?
Again, it's just how it is. We have the land, but the land exists, but it's not. We can't access it because of private ownership. And then, by the way, I'm not saying we should take it over because because socialism, whatever. I'm not a socialist, but I'm also not like a diehard capitalist. I'm a realist and a nationalist. And then we do have like we only have so many farmers, so many experienced people who could cultivate the land.
Well, these are things we need to fix.
We do.
Yeah.
We need a total restructuring of the country, a total restructuring of it. But we won't get that because people are lazy, or people are so delusional.
Yeah.
And greedy.
I know, and this, funny enough, kind of goes into the arguments in support of all the mass illegal immigration, who will pick the crops and such. And really, what it comes down to is Americans are too good for a lot of Americans. A very large portion of the American population thinks they're too good for hard manual labor.
Yeah, that's a total fact.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter it doesn't matter also like what political party they support or not. Most Americans think they are much better than like other peoples.
Yeah. I will say we should probably get back to princesses now, but we should keep this in mind and set it up for a topic some later date.
Yeah, we could definitely bring it back in a future episode
Yeah.
for better more full discussion.
Yeah. Or we have introduce a new economic podcast that will run also.
No, please not an economic podcast. No, God no.
I would like to do that. That would be fun.
It would be fun, but if we're going to do that, then y'all need to be prepared to for me to get up on my soapbox and start screaming about why we need to nationalize the electric grid.
I'm not that. I've studied economics, but I'm not an economist by any means. So I don't feel like I'm up to the task.
You know, well, you and me, we should talk about that in a VC after the podcast because that'd be fun. I think that'd be fun.
Okay, so getting back to the topic of the night.
What princesses have we gone over in detail, not just quick
We
glances?
did Ingrid, Victoria,
I think
Elizabeth,
all but the
and
Dutch one.
Leonor. All that's left is Catherine of the Netherlands.
The Netherlands.
Which apparently was almost abducted in 2022 by Moroccans for some reason.
Huh.
Hostage situation. I remember, I think it was like the 1970s or something. There was another Princess Anne of like the UK almost got kidnapped for like money, but like she fought off her like kidnappers.
Huh.
I'm sorry, but I just seen Moroccan gang trying to kidnap a European princess. The first thing I think to myself is they're really trying to restart their Corsair arc, aren't they?
They gotta go back to the roots.
Oh, let me get the battleship. We can shell the coast again.
Yeah. Let the Marines relive their To the Shores of Tripoli arc.
Now, visit to go on a little bit of a tangent. Sorry, I started this tangent. It was like we could talk about how some of the horrible stuff that happened during European colonialism during the late 17th, 18th, and early 19th century. I mean, no, I did that wrong. Late 18th, 19th, and early 20th centuries. But
What are you talking about? It was perfect. Nothing wrong ever happened.
But I have to say, if anyone deserved to get absolutely quashed by European powers, it was North Africa. After all of the horrible, horrible stuff the Barbary states and the Corsairs did, I gotta say it, Algeria, Tunisia, they had it coming.
I would say the
I will say it,
Aztecs.
they had it coming.
Yeah,
I would say the Aztecs doing human sacrifices on like thousands of the neighbors is kind of like, I think that one's worse. That's just my take though.
Right, I know. I'm just saying it goes back. What I'm just trying to say is that, sometimes the people we colonized weren't good people.
Yeah.
Sometimes they absolutely deserved it. And even though the colonizers were perfect, they were still better than they were.
Yeah. I don't think any of us here are gonna dispute that. I know others in our circles would. But I mean, how I see the Barbary pirates and like that it's just an extension of the Ottoman Empire. It really is. I
Well,
mean, yeah,
they were doing that even before the Ottoman Empire. The Ottomans just were the reason they got away with it for so long because the Ottomans guaranteed them.
well,
And then
yeah,
once
yeah.
the
So
Ottoman
I'm putting them
Empire,
under the Ottomans because you gotta remember with the Ottomans too. I mean, they were so. I mean, with the Ottomans, it's not. I'm not just talking about the Sultan in Constantinople. I'm including the Barbary pirates. I'm included like the Crimean Khanate.
right,
And I know like I mean they were over here kidnapping like thousands of like European Christians each year, forcing them to be slaves, and then taking in the boys and then forcing them to become slave soldiers, which would become the infamous Janissaries.
right. And you know, we can honestly, I think we could say this with definite certainty. It was America more than anything that basically ushered in the eventual downfall of the Ottomans.
Cough, cough.
Because,
Tripoli. Cough, cough.
yeah, because of our war in Tripoli and the Barbary states, we, for one, showed that the Barbary Corsairs weren't invincible. And two, that was basically the domino that basically started the Ottoman recession. And you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I'm having trouble
Yeah,
thinking of what words I
I
want
get
to use.
what you're saying. Also, can I say they made the mistakes of touching our boats?
They touched the boats.
I mean, I know I often disagree, and you talk to any of my like friends, and they'll say like one of my key like aspects. So it's like I always have to be like the devil's advocate, but like the 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 U.S. Marines like landing in Tripoli in Libya was like nothing compared to like the Ottomans' own like stagnation, and then like incursions by like the Russians and the Austrians and all that at the same time. Oh, and then you have like Napoleon trying to take over Egypt and everything. I mean, the Americans bombing a bunch of pirates on the other side of the Mediterranean was nothing. And to claim that, oh, we were like the truly the not the punch that like destroyed the Ottoman Caliphate is like I think it's ridiculous.
Well, I'm not saying we're the punch that destroyed it. I'm just saying we were the ones that basically pointed out that the Sultan wasn't wearing clothes, so to say.
I just think it's a very much like a weak argument to try and make us look like so superior to like the Ottomans and the Europeans. That's
All
just
right,
my take.
But
that's
we are
fair.
Europeans.
But it does actually give us an interesting historical precedent on why we're so involved in the Middle East. It seems like it really does.
Yep.
And I think we did something in Morocco too, toward the later half of the 19th century. I can't
No,
remember.
actually, they were the
Are
first
you
people to recognize us.
Yeah, they were the
are you
first.
thinking you're not thinking that movie where like the U.S. Marines take over Morocco, are you?
I might be thinking of that movie, but I didn't know if that was based off some historical precedent or not, or something that actually happened.
I don't think it's real. I could be wrong, but I mean the time that the I forget the movie, but I remember seeing the clip on YouTube. It's because it's so like ridiculous. During that time, Morocco was being fought between like the French, the Spanish, and the Germans for influence. And mind you, this is like early 20th century, so we have machine guns, we have bolt action rifles and stuff. And I cannot for the life of me believe U.S. Marines is marching into the middle of Morocco and then like holding the Sultan hostage. Like there's no way we don't know about this if it would happened.
I mean, that is basically what we did to the Tripolitan or Trip. However you say the leader of Tripoli.
I don't
The
know.
Tripoli, the Tripolitanian. It doesn't matter. It doesn't.
The Sultan. Just call him a Sultan.
Yeah.
For the sake of ease, we just call him a Sultan.
Um. Side tangent alert. We should probably get off this side tangent.
Uh,
It always happens.
I know, but we still need to talk about the princess from the Netherlands.
do we have any more details on her? Zayonik didn't provide me a lot in her bio. other than
What?
people want her Argentinian monarchists are interested in making her sister Queen of Argentina
Huh. That's interesting.
because apparently she's half Argentinian.
Huh. Suspicious. What's her name again?
The current princess or her sister?
Current princess.
Katharina Amalia, or Amelia. I don't know how to pronounce it. Amalia. I'm guessing it's Amalia.
Catherine Amelia, Princess of Orange.
Yes.
Alright. Oh, she's a Gen Z. Very neat.
Hmm,
Only 2 years older than me, actually.
interesting. It's always weird thinking about princesses that are actually our age.
Yeah,
Like, do you think they have like secret accounts on social media, like alts that nobody knows about?
I'm sure they.
Wonder what kind of memes they like.
Yeah. It's
Okay, so really quick, I know what we've moved on. So actually, we did invade Morocco, and of course, it was Teddy Roosevelt who initiated it.
of course.
Of course it was. God
So
bless them.
so that movie that we're thinking of, the 1975's The Rin and the Lion. So it is based off a real story, but it's a highly fictionalized one. And
Um,
so basically, like it looks here like some Americans got like kidnapped and held hostage
That'll do.
by in Morocco. Not by the not, doesn't look. I don't think it's the Sultan, but it was like someone like a Moroccan aristocrat or some like a leader, a tribal leader. And so Teddy Roosevelt just set in like the like a gunboat squadron into Tangiers to like basically like hold the town hostage until the Americans got released.
You hold my people hostage? Okay, I hold your country hostage.
So I guess it is true. I guess all the European empires just said meh.
And I will state again, when it comes to Europe, I will state again, superior.
I feel like that point in like the late 19th century, early 20th
This was
century.
1904, by the way.
Yeah, like that period in the early 20th century was basically the point in American history where we were a big can of worms, where we were a burgeoning power and people knew we were powerful and we could stand on our own, but nobody wanted to be the first country to figure out just how we could go. So the reason nobody in Europe did anything was just nobody in Europe wanted to be the first to basically be on the receiving end of
They didn't want a FAF.
America's potential untapped wrath.
They didn't want a FAFO.
Yeah. And
I mean,
then,
What?
and I even think with our involvement in World War One, we don't really reach that point of America reaching its full potential of violence because we showed up right at the end. If we want to talk a war where America basically just unbridled unleashes itself, it is World War Two. That was America at its peak potential right there.
Duh.
Because, like it or not, America basically single handedly funded and supplied the entire Allied war effort on every front. It was absurd.
Yeah, they
you
really.
have to you have to remember with like part of like the idea behind Manifest Destiny was that if we take over like the entire continent, no one's gonna want to mess with us ever. And so
Well,
that's why no one really messes with us. Like I mean, obviously you have like the Japanese Empire or whatever, but it's like there were no realistic plans to try. Let's invade the United States. Let's take New York. Let's take Virginia. Let's take DC. It
that
doesn't. There's no realistic plan, and you can look to like the British Canadian plan and like during the Great Depression that was like a contingency plan.
right is like
That was
I'm
not
actually,
like a full invasion.
I'm actually going to bring that up in the Substack article I'm writing right now about the history of American Canadian relationships, how Trump basically botched it. I'm gonna bring it up how basically Canada existed as a geopolitical buffer state that Britain put there solely and specifically to the point of basically hampering America's ability to be an unstoppable juggernaut. Because if the US ever does acquire Canada, that's game over. It's game over at that point. We are too big at that point. The amount of resources, land, and basically economic potential we would unlock with that, it would be game over.
We would cease to be a superpower and we'd become the first hyperpower.
Yes, and dear God, it would be so terrifying.
It would. That's why I want an empire so badly. Why I'm so furious at Trump for trying to throw away our empire. Anyways,
Right.
that's not the video though.
And
We
this
should
is going to be something I bring up in the article. I'll make sure to send you the link to the article when it's done. Is that Trump's tariffs against Canada were so stupid and counterintuitive, and it's only something a businessman could come up to who's only focused on seeing the bottom line and doesn't know how to play politics. Trump saw our trade with Canada, he saw something where we were losing money. We were not losing money. We were basically Canada's sole trade partner. We controlled something like 80% of all Canadian exports. We were not losing money. We were paying to have a monopoly on the Canadian market. And that is priceless.
Yeah. Should we get back to Miss Catherine Amelia yet?
I don't know if there's anything else to add or
We
I
could just
feel
move
like
on to like other like past queens, empresses, and princesses again, because I feel that I feel like there's no point in us talking about the 5 crown princesses in Europe right now if we're just gonna go over and say, hey, they exist, they did this right now, they're gonna be queen. Like there's no deeper discussion now.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Um,
well, real quick, how much longer do we want to keep going? Because we're well over the hour mark now.
Maybe 10, 15 minutes at most.
All right, so one more
If
queen and then we wrap it up.
I guess. I mean,
are
I
either
mean, if
of
we're
you
gonna have a deep discussion on it.
are either of you familiar with Empress? What was her name? Hold on. Aurelia. Are you familiar with Empress Aurelia? I think that was her name.
It's just another Roman one.
She was the first Roman woman to rule in her own right, and the only ancient Roman woman to rule in her own right.
I thought the first Roman woman to ruin her own right was Irene.
No, it would be Aurelia for the first 3 or so months.
Are you talking about like the wife of Valerian?
Yes. Yes, I am.
She didn't ruin her own right though. She was like essentially a regent.
Well, regent of who? Because he didn't have a son. It was only her and her daughter. So, and she exercised power. So I'd argue that does mean she ruled in her own right, because there's no one else to occupy the throne, and she did have coins printed with her face on it during that brief time. Now, she did willingly step down from power, or at least we think so. But
Dang it. My microphone fell and it broke.
womp womp womp.
Gonna have to buy a new one now.
That sucks. I'm sorry.
Yeah, sorry to derail the conversation.
No, you're good. But no, yeah, I just think it's an interesting little story. What do you think?
I don't know much about her. I'm trying to think. You call her Aurelia, but are you talking about
It might have been.
Eupenia Severina?
That's probably it. I've heard so many different Roman names and many different Roman woman names that they're all mixed into my head, and she's a footnote in history, unfortunately.
I
You're
I mean,
probably right.
we're talking about like with the Romans. We're talking about almost 2,000 years of history. I don't blame you, man. I'm like halfway through like the entire like story arc right now with
Yeah.
Heraclius. So
Yeah.
I get it.
Have either of you guys watched Dova Hattie's Unbiased History of Rome?
Yeah, I was gonna mention that. I think you'll get in that name for her from him. You, I think he calls her Aurelia just because she was married to Aurelian.
That's probably what happened.
I love that. I unironically I love the unbiased history of Rome so much, and I hate that they didn't let him like do the whole Byzantium
I know.
thing. That was bullshit. I call it bullshit right here, right now, that they wouldn't allow him to make fun of like the second biggest religious group, even though he bullshitted on every other fucking group in history. Every other group, and I won't be convinced otherwise that he wasn't allowed to because of like who comes after the Persians for Heraclius. We all know if you know, you know.
I know. Yeah. I will say, I think he might have been overreacting because he still ended up making the Unbiased History of Israel.
Oh, I forgot about that. Okay, that's different though. That's different. I mean, different group. That's a different group.
I think I remember his unbiased history of
Morrowind?
the Eastern Roman Empire, the Byzantine Empire, and what I specifically and viscerally remember the scene where they're talking about King Caleb of Axum. And they play
that's
Chief
that
Keef in the video.
that I don't think that one was Dova Hattie's. I think it was someone who was inspired by him.
Yeah, Dovahadi, however you pronounce this, I can't
But
pronounce his name for the life of me. But he only went up to like Heraclius and the Great Persian War.
I mean, Caleb of Axum was during the reign of Justin, so
Yeah, it could have been. I won't lie, I've not watched all of them yet. I'm in the middle of like his like little Byzantium miniseries.
yeah.
But that's just me. And again, him having an unbiased history of Israel, it doesn't surprise me because of one, like the how if you've looked over like the pop culture and like the political scene the past couple years, how more divisive and biased like some websites are more than others. But then you also have to remember like the what is it, the five good emperors. Remember Hadrian, the Hadrian segment.
I don't think the Hadrian segment was untrue, though.
No, I'm not saying it's untrue. I'm saying look at like how he portrayed it. And it got you know, that did not get banned. That didn't get striked. That didn't. I don't think it got demonetized. I don't know if he monetized any of it. But like he was allowed to have that for that group. You know what I mean? Do you understand what I'm trying to say here?
Are you talking about the Jews or the gays? I'm not sure.
Not the gays.
Okay, so you're talking about the
Yes, I am. I'm trying to like make sure we don't get like reported or anything. But I mean, he had that whole segment of.
Anyway, just say what you want.
I mean, he had that whole segment of like Hadrian slaughtering Judea, like complete genocide. You know, we'll talk about Hitler levels of genocide here with the funny music and everything, and that there was nothing, there was no like report or strike against him for that. And yeah, he couldn't do the whole Byzantium series because they wouldn't allow him to like make fun of Muhammad and the Muslim.
Well, you see, that's the thing, though.
That's what I'm trying to emphasize. That's like the duality of it.
That's the thing, though. I feel like he did that in the Unbiased History of Israel. You know, because the Palestinians are primarily Muslim.
I guess I don't know. Again, this is what I'm saying. It's like this bizarre double standard where they allow him to do this for that group, but they won't allow him to do this, attack this group in the name of this other group. I think it's just very complex and bizarre.
I'm sick and tired of Muslims being a protected class in the West. I'm very, very honest about it. I don't have anything against it, but I hate the fact that they're somehow magically immune to criticism.
I hate how the idea of any kind of protected class honestly, it might sound stupidly obvious, but the only kind of protected class or protected person, in my opinion, from criticism in not just the rest of the world should be monarchs. No, not royals at large, but monarchs, because of what they represent. I mean, I know we don't have time for a whole discussion on that, but if there was ever if monarchs if there was ever one like group or person above criticism, it's monarchs for reasons X, Y, and Z. And if not, then you know what? Then there's no point in us even trying to talk about. We'll just talk about essentially like a real powerful presidency.
Well, I think that might be a good note to end on. Does anyone have any final thoughts?
Nope.
Finish the guy. I can't remember his name. I can't pronounce it. Please, for good love of God, do the do the whole Byzantium unbiased history series, please. I'll pay for him to do it, like as he did with the unbiased history of Rome. I want to see it. I want to see him get to 1453.
Alright, with that being said, please bow your head and join us in prayer. In the name of the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us of our trespasses as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. Amen. Heavenly Father, we pray for those princesses who will someday be queens. Bless them, Lord, when it's their time to reign, and may they rule with wisdom, peace, and prosperity. Amen. Thank you for joining us this week on Monarchist Minute. We hope to see you next week, same time, same place, to talk about another exciting topic. If you're watching this on YouTube, like, comment, and subscribe. If you're watching this or listening to this on any of our streaming services, hit whatever the button is to make sure that you get updates whenever a new episode is uploaded. If you want to get a hold of us, shout us out, or get involved, send us an email, join us on Discord, follow us on social media, and direct message us that way. We'll get back to you as soon as we can. Until then, may God bless you and may God bless the United States of America. Thank you and good night.